We got here our second guest of the course, who is Elia Romanelli. He was born and bred and raised in Venice. And after his school years, he went to Rome to study anthropology. And then he started for himself doing research on a variety of topics, and he trained himself to be a filmmaker. So, which makes a wonderful combination, two disciplines. And it sounds logic. Well, first of all, Elia, when we first talked, you said Rome was a stinking city. You didn't like it at all when you went there to...
Yeah, it was a difficult, it's still a difficult city for me. Now I'm not in Rome, I'm in Milan. Very
your sound is a little bit hard to hear. Is that?
Is back there.
Yeah, this is better. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, it's actually not my city. I mean, I love metropolis. I love it's my habitat. It's my natural habitat, and more than nature. And especially the big city as Rome, but in a way is difficult, as you know, to live in a big city, more than a village, more than a small city, more than Venice, that is in fact in a way a small city. But I like to have something back that is the heterogeneity of the metropolis. And in a way, I always think that Rome don't have this kind of heterogeneity. I used to live in London for a couple of years, and so I can understand what is the difference between a real big metropolis and a big metropolis, but without all this kind of input that you can have from another city. Can be also Paris, or in a way also Berlin. So it's a strange capital, Rome, and it's not exactly my way.
And how about, I mean, you're from Venice and you were born there. I mean, the burden of history, like in Rome, must be very heavy, and the change of time. Has that done something to you?
You know, to born in Venice is strange. I remember when we were speaking about me and some friend of mine, that around 17, we decided to go somewhere else to study after Venice. One of the reasons was that our eyes was almost tired to see everything like historical, every single wall is historical in Venice. That is a difference between Venice and Rome, because Rome is absolutely historical, but you can have a big part, most of the part of Rome is built after, I don't know, 70 probably, or 60, 70. And Venice, they don't have the space to build something of new, don't have a possibility to think something of new. There are really few very small area that are built after the 50, but so you don't have a suburb, you don't have the, also I speak for myself, the pleasure of the suburb. And so was also in a way to escape from an excess of history, because if you want to appreciate something, you have also to see it from outside. Mm-hmm. and so there, it's difficult to find a balance between, for example, sometime when I stay more time in Venice, so more than 2 weeks, 3 weeks now, I feel the needing to go to Mestre. I don't know if you know Mestre. Mestre is the city immediately before Venice,
where the refinery is and the big port.
Yeah, exactly. And so Marghera, Mestre. That if you ask to a Venetian that are a little bit maybe posh in this sense, they say it's horrible. And for me, it's necessary to see a couple of days or 1 day or 1 evening of gray and the smell of the car and a city that is real alive, because the real problem, apart this super history of Venice and super level of art everywhere, is that there is almost an empty city. The population is going down every year. Now Venice is around about 50,000 people, and Mestre is 2,000 people. No, 20,000 people. No, 20,000 people. And so it's a city that is going to lose her sense as a city. Is really, really touristic. I mean, had been in Amsterdam, that I read have often the same problem. I read the politic of Airbnb, for example, that had to be strong. I think in Amsterdam they decided to close Airbnb or something like that. If you watch the map of Venice and you watch the map of the Airbnb in Venice, is almost, you know, every Airbnb is a point, a red point, and Venice is almost all a point, red point, and all the rest is hotel generally.
Yeah.
And so was also a way to escape from the idea that in the last house I used to live in Venice, for example, just for make an example, was in Dorso Duro. Dorso Duro is this kind of area in front of San Marco Square, where, I don't know if you know Venice a bit, is the famous Basilica della Salute. I used to live there, and to go to buy apple, fruit, pasta, or what else for the supermarket was 25 minutes walking, because there was no shop except the hyper touristic shop where you can find something like limoncello, super sweet limoncello, and so you can understand that the urban spirit is almost lost in a way.
Yeah,
big part of
yeah. But it's funny. I spoke to an American when I was in the United States, and I told him that I spoke with someone who lived in Venice, and said, "Wow, that must be wonderful. It must be like living in Disneyland." So that's what a lot of people consider Venice as. Venice is a city for us all, but it has become more a phenomena instead of a city to live in. I mean, it has changed because of many things, and we're all watching it, and we all see the city almost dying because of the rising of the water, of course, but of the tourism as well. And we're all witnessing this, but you witness it from the inside.
Sure. For example, it's interesting when Adolfo Conti, the producer of Venice Elsewhere, start to propose the market, the documentary. And in the beginning, my dossier was a little bit more strong and angry against Venice. And often the answer was, it's impossible to do a documentary like this about Venice, because Venice is miraculous. You can be critic in a way. So it's strange. In a way, it was not understood this kind of drama for the city. And the other side, they probably consider not possible to sell as a product because it was too much critic or too much, distant from.
I can understand that. Yeah. We come to your film, Venice Elsewhere, later, and we talk about the things you talk about now. But I want to go into your work as an anthropologist and a filmmaker. Yep. Where do you start a story? How do you do your research? And what was the shift, or might not be a shift, in your approach towards your subjects? Instead of writing, what most anthropologists do, you started to make film. And what made you do that, to move into that discipline?
So I started anthropology at 18, and just because with the nose, understood was a a field that was interesting for me, etc., etc. And for the first 3 years in Rome, I just studied anthropology. Then I moved from Rome. I went to London, and then I start again because in Italy the university is 3 + 2 years, and so I went to get the specialization in Turin, and there was impossible for me to do too much exam of anthropology because I already did too much, and so I start to reiterate the same exam that was visual anthropology. And I'm a visual anthropologist. I don't think it's the best part of the anthropology. The visual anthropology is sometimes unuseful in a way as a theory, but open to me the idea to don't open to me the idea to do the film to start a career as a filmmaker, but just simply open a little course of filmmaking. Was something like, I don't know, 20 hours, and everybody with his camera and with his topic and his subject and editing by himself. So something of really not really professional also as a course. But I felt for the first time in my life free to do something also without to be professional, a professionist of something, you know. Before I did the School of Art in my high school, and I never use something that was not lapis, because I consider me always in the beginning. For me, it was just lapis, but I never used to do something of an interpretation with colors, or etc., because for me was like the goal was always to become perfect in something of simple. And when I started with filmmaking, I felt me for the first time free to do something, also if it was not good the quality.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why exactly. But for sure, something was helping me. There was the fact that the anthropology and filmmaking, in a way, they can be very, a documentary, they can be very close. Because yes, the approach that is still now the part that maybe I love more in my job, this beginning of a documentary is very close to the beginning of a research in anthropology. When you go in a place for the first time and you start to speak with people in a way that is something like a little bit more deep, if you are curious.
What you're talking about now could be very interesting for a student, because you say, as an anthropologist, your start studying a subject would be the same as the start for a filmmaker, because you're doing research, but you have to put it in some kind of a form.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm speaking really in the first days of a research, because then obviously, if my goal is an essay, so to write a book, and my goal is to shoot a documentary, then if I shoot a documentary, I have to start to see the landscape. I have to start to see if I enter in a house of someone, I have to immediately start to understand the light, where it is, so where it's possible to. So after 2-3 days, you start to see in different way. But in the beginning is the same. For me, it's the same.
Yeah. Well, I want to show a short clip out of one of your elder films. It's about the son of Scarpa, the famous architect. I think he was born in Venice too, huh?
Yeah.
And well, if you do not know him,
now he's living just out of Venice, but he born there.
Yeah. And well, search him if you don't know him. But you made a film about his son, which is quite tricky. Let's talk about it later. I wanna show them a clip of this film. He's called Tobias Scarpa, and that's what he's telling, the son of a famous architect. Share screen. Let me see.
Don't forget to share sound.
Do I have a share sound? Yeah, that's always the main question. Have you a full screen now?
I think yes.
Is the sound okay?
Io sono figlio di un bravo architetto, ma per essere qualcosa di più di un bravo architetto bisogna essere un bravo architetto e anche qualche cos'altro. Io cercavo qualche cos'altro. Il primo oggetto che ho disegnato è un tavolo che ha avuto una sua storia e anche una data, perché io l'ho disegnato nel momento in cui mio padre ha preso il premio Olivetti. E allora, siccome bisognava fare una festa, non c'erano tavoli grandi abbastanza, e io ho detto: faccio io il disegno del tavolo, ho preso questa idea che io ho fatto un grande tavolo. Dopodiché, a un'età in cui dovevo decidere della mia vita, ho detto visto che mio padre fa l'architetto, io disegnerò oggetti.
Well, just a short clip. I'm sorry, you have to see the whole film. But just to give you an idea how difficult the subject sometimes can be, because here it is the son of a father who is famous, which means always a burden on your neck, on your shoulders. And he has become a designer as well. And he moved into another way. He moved not into houses or architecture, but more into furniture. And was that in your mind when you made this film?
What was in my mind?
That specific thing, not only make a portrait of Tobias Kappa, but...
No, you know, this was committed. I mean, they proposed me to do a documentary about Tobias Scarpa. I knew his name, and as a Venetian, obviously, I know his father as an architect. But when they proposed to me, I already used to do some portrait of artists, never about an architect. And but who proposed to me, that was my partner in a little production house that I used to have. And I say yes, but I immediately told that my approach was not, it was impossible to have an approach that was not also about a person, Tobias Scarpa. And was not the easy part, because Tobias in the beginning was like, had the habit to be a teacher. And so had the habit to speak about a design as in a school or as in a university. And so I went to visit him in his house, that by the way is like something almost 2 hours of trip from my house, many times, and start to understand the way, start to make him understand that my portrait needed also a human part. And so, and this was, I think, really adapt to him, because anyway, his way to design an object is strongly humanistic, in sense that his idols are poets, his writer, and I think also his father in a way. And so we start to understand that the goal was the same. So have an approach that was human and not just to explain, also because it was explaining to me, and I'm not an expert of design. So if it was just speaking about material and temperature and I don't know, a technical element was impossible. I was not interested. I was not interested to speak too much about it. Mm-hmm. And so in a way it's a mix between a portrait about an architect and portrait about a human. In fact, he speaks also it deeply speak about his life. Also, he had two sons, then die, and he had his ex-wife and partner also as a designer for, I think, 40 years, 50 years, a lot of years, and then die. So also the tragic part of his life, and not just the tragic. So he's, as a man, this was the trick to do a documentary about an architect without to be an architect.
Yeah, but that's interesting because you're an outsider. But as a human being, you're an insider, of course. You can level on the same feelings of somebody else. But as an outsider, you look with different eyes towards the work, what he's doing. So obviously
I studied everything about Tobias Scarpa before to meet him, because otherwise you are too much an outsider. Otherwise you are ignorant almost, you know. So you have to know his work, and then go as outsider as I am.
And how does a film like this develop? Because you visit him a lot of time, and then you start shooting, and suddenly you see that the history or the story can move towards a different direction.
I have confessed something that was as a days of work, the shorter documentary in my life, because I think we went to shoot, I think, not more than 6 or 7 times maximum. So it's very, very, very short work for a documentary. And the editing, I think we edit it in a couple of weeks maximum. And still now I don't know exactly what was strange, you know. In a documentary is always like this. You cannot really predict how long it will take, and you don't know if it is for lucky or for something else. This is very short, so it was not a really long street with him. So in a way, I found the documentary already done after 5-6 times that we went there. Something, but I don't know if you saw the documentary. Something that was made after was the part when he built this kind of instruments, because in the documentary built a kind of experimental instrument, because I understood that it was necessary to put something of different between a draw and a speech, something like a project to have a plot in a way in the documentary. And this was the only thing that I had in a way. All the rest was camera, him, and question in a way.
That's interesting what you're saying, because every a good documentary maker is always searching for attention, which brings you from one scene to the other, and to understand the subject that you are showing, not only in an objective way, but in the way that the filmmaker is bringing it to us. And so you're saying you missed something and then you shot this extra.
Exactly. But, for example, this is the biggest, I think, considering your question before, difference between an anthropologist and a filmmaker, because the anthropologist never had this problem, because you have just to pick up what he can pick up from a speech, or long speech, or many speech, or years of speech, but don't have to invent a way to create something that is like a plot. You don't need a plot in a book, in a way, in the traditional anthropology, and also in the contemporary anthropology, there is not something like this. And in fact, I think that many anthropologists that start to work with the video have a problem that the documentary can be boring. Because if you are satisfied by the words and just by the words, you risk to do something of in a way, boring.
Okay, so you're telling, so if you move into the discipline of filmmaking, you got to understand the laws of filmmaking, which is bring an extra tension, tell the story in a different way, so that, well, it's hard for me to tell that it's entertainment too. I mean,
exactly. This is the way, exactly.
Yeah. Well, to move away from film a little, you just made a book with your friend. I think he's your friend because you studied together in Rome.
No, he was my teacher.
Oh, he was your teacher. It's this wonderful book, which is the outcome and the result of research you did in London. It's called Slice of Life, and it tells about 52 people, I think.
I don't remember. I did many years ago.
Yeah.
I think.
But the book.
No, 31 people. I think one for every day of the month. I think 31 people. 52.
It's a wonderful book. It's 31 people you interviewed in London about their favorite recipe. They tell about, but not only about their favorite recipe. They tell about their lives, and as everybody is. Well, you selected a wonderful group of people. I read some stories and they are wonderfully written, very direct and very nice. And they're, I mean, they come with drawings of the, and there are some handwritten recipes. And it's not only a slice of life, and there are wonderful pictures of the photographer who made these pictures and set them in the mood he thought these people were in. And they're from all over the world. You even make a map about where they came from. Can you see this? So, it's a wonderful food collage of people who live everywhere in the world, and they are now in London, and you collected these. So this is another outcome of a research you've done on, or maybe your interest on the diversity of people in London.
Yeah, for sure, I'm interested from the diversity. This personally was a break from the camera. And the way the needing to be back to something like anthropology, because this is not exactly an academic book. It's not for university. Is a regional. Is a little bit an hybrid between a art book and anthropologist book. But was the pleasure to come back to the chance to speak free with a person without to pay attention about if he cough, if he sneeze, if the light is, if the sound man forgot the microphone, and I spent 5 months in London there, and what I asked to myself was to don't know these people, and also to choose them random. And most of them was writing in the website. So, for example, him, the one that you are showing, was member of an important club for rich men, and just writing, because I want to be like to don't be influenced by some criteria. And the society or the website on that proposed someone, and then I used to go to meet them. And obviously this selection of 30 people are behind, have something like 200 interview, and I think 2,000 contact that I start to have. So it was a longer story, and was a big pleasure. It was also a marvelous way to re-explore London.
It's a fantastic way to explore a city, and it opens, and it opens our eyes. When I read some stories in the book, it opened our eyes what diversity means and how it can be expressed in memories about our first food and what we like to eat and where we can find it. This all can be found in London. And as a lot of European cities become more and more international, this is the way to look at cities, not to look at boundaries or
Yeah, sure.
this is what we share. I mean, they even made wonderful paintings, artists.
And in a way, the fact that it became a cookbook is because my crazy theory is not a theory, is between a theory and a joke, is that if you enter so much in a story of a person that you speak for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, the only thing that you can do more than listen is in a way to try to eat this person. In fact, the book is about urban anthropophagy. Because to try to have more in you the story, the only way is in the end is to eat the story or to eat the person. I don't know how to say. And so this is the reason why it became a cookbook.
Well, you mentioned something which is very interesting, to eat somebody. I mean, you do that when you're in love with somebody and you want to eat somebody. You got to be in love with your subject. I mean, if you choose a subject, you got to be completely embraced by it. Do you think that's necessary?
To do, sorry, I didn't understand.
To be completely incorporated with your subject.
No. When you shoot a documentary, I mean, more for the filmmaker than for the anthropologist. The anthropologist needs to have a distance, a bit more. For the filmmaker, is very difficult. For example, to some filmmaker did it, but it's difficult to shoot a documentary about your own family because you are too much close. But the time that the filmmaker spends with a community before to start to shoot a documentary is very important. For example, I always envy Gianfranco Rosi. I don't know if you know, is the famous filmmaker. That a couple of times.
Gianfranco Rosi, who made that wonderful film about that road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We showed it at our festival, and then he made about migrants, that boat.
He made, before of this, he made a Below Sea Level. There's a documentary about a community in the middle of the desert, somehow in the States. I don't remember exactly in which state.
But you said you admire him because
I admire him, but I envy also him. Because he explained me his modus operandi, and for example, for Below Sea Level, he spent 6 months for 5 years, so 2 years and a half in the hand with the community before to have all the material, and you can imagine how much easier become to, or you can imagine. Become to shoot something with a sense, with blood. If you share part of your time and part of your life with the subjects of your documentary. One big limit for me in Venice, AFFR, was that for question of production, and this is not is not for the production. It was the budget that we had. Was not possible to spend a long time before to shoot, and so probably I start to shoot after the second or third time maximum that I saw the person. It's very fast, too fast.
Yeah. Well, let me explain something about that film, because that film will be premiered in our festival, and it's a film about how people. It's about the Venices that are not the real Venice. It's about the Venices in Europe, the places that called Venice, and the people that live in those Venices, and how they look at the real Venice, and how it's how they look at this kind of a dream like Venice. And maybe let's show a clip before we talk about it. It's one of the people in the film. Let me see. Is it this one? Yeah. one of the people in the film you followed who lives in Venice in, I think in Romania or yeah.
Romania. Yeah, the clip you choose is Romania. Yeah.
Yeah, in Romania. And just to give everybody an idea, share sound. Take some time, but then we got something. Here we are. Can we see this, everybody? It's full screen. There we go.
Hai su. Ani. Plecat la muncă, la campanie, la mandarini. Am plecat de aici din Veneția cu un taxiu până în Făgăraș. La 2 a venit autocarul. Pe 26 noiembrie m-am suit în autocar cu destinația Italia. Și am plecat. Eram în Italia și am făcut pauză de o țigară, de o toaletă. Colegii mi-au spus, colegul de scaun, că suntem la Veneția, în Italia. O șosea, un lac așa frumos. Am stat acolo 10 minute, am fumat o țigară, 2 și am plecat. Și s-a părut orașul așa frumos, cât am stat 10 minute.
So far. Well, this is one of the people in the film that live in Venice. Well, he's living a very simple life as a sheep herd. That's what I understood. And the story he's telling is wonderful. It brought me to tears. I mean, somebody who's telling about being in Venice 10 minutes. It was a roundabout and some water, and I think it's a wonderful city. I mean, that observation, you must be very eager to catch this. I mean, how did you bring somebody this far to be so open to you?
Specifically, this guy was, you can find every kind of human, and when you have a camera, the reaction of human are so different, and I met, for example, once I had to do a documentary about an artist, and he was completely paralyzed in front of the camera. And to have a documentary in the hand, I had to leave him in a room with a microphone alone, and it was just voiceover. This guy was the opposite. This guy was a rare case where the person is completely in comfort in front of the camera, completely in comfort. And as maybe you saw, for sure you saw that there are parts inside of his little roulotte.
Yeah.
And he permit us to enter there immediately. And it was really of simple words, but with totally open to say it. And so in this case, I was lucky to find him. And we found, because we was shooting some butcher killing the pig that are also in the movie, and the cameraman was impressed by it because the pig was similar to the dog of him, because he had a dog like, so he escaped from the he left me the camera and say I have to escape. He went to have a tour of the little village. He met him and said, I think he can be interesting. And then I went to speak to him. It was interesting. Yeah, I told it was very easy to speak with him, very easy to enter in an intimate situation with him. And
but where does an idea like this start? I mean, you're Venetian. Did you start thinking about the phenomena of Venice and how people looked at it? Or that can be a very intellectual debate. but you moved it in a more, I would say, modest and direct way. You thought, well, let's go visit all the places that are called Venice and look for people who live there, and tell the story, how people project their lives on us, or where did it start?
So generally, one of the best way is to sit in the wrong bar. I mean, if you see okay, this area of Romania is not touristic, and so you don't have the like touristic bar or etc. But or the wrong bar, or the center square or something like this, so in a public place, and start to listen, and when you have a little bit a small idea of the structure of the society. I mean, the society in this village that is probably, I don't know, 2,000 people. I don't remember. Sitting and drinking a couple of, I don't remember what they used to drink there, maybe rakia,
Heavy stuff.
You can start to speak with in person with someone, and then if you speak in a way that can suggest someone else. And for example, the real,
then you already know what you're doing. But I want to go a step further back. I want to go back to that moment that you thought, I want to tell this story in this way. Somewhere in Venice, you were thinking about it and said, how can I tell? And where did that come from? How did that start?
Depends, because depends from also almost physically. You understand that is the moment to start to shoot. If really from the reaction that you have when you start to have a couple of camera in front, and if the
no, I don't want to be at the camera. I'm not there yet. I want to be at that very moment that you thought, okay, I want to tell a story about Venice.
Okay.
And this is the way I'm gonna tell it.
Okay. No, it's generally is not something that I start to write slow, but for example, and this is the maximum of my style, for Slice of Life, I woke up, I was close to my ex-girlfriend, and the moment I woke up, I say her, please take a pen because I have an idea. So this is my way to start to have idea. To generally is arrive.
Okay, but
so and then I work on it. Obvious.
Right, I can understand. But a thing like this, looking for places that are called Venice and where people work and live, can be very tricky, because it can be very anecdotal. Ha ha ha! Venice here, Venice there. But
so the way was this.
It's a thin line.
I decide to don't go to the pizza and ice cream place, because probably the story behind it is poor. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, statistically, probably is not a big story, and for Venice, I can't sleep in the night generally, and so I really think that I spent in Google Maps something like, I'm honest, 1,000 hours. I don't know, for months and months, every night, probably 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, and selecting and then going Google Maps, and there is just that a place give you more an impression that can have a story behind, and so I start to call with people speaking in the regional language, and from the first call you can understand something more. You can also get wrong, because maybe someone can answer and say I'm not interested, and they are losing the best subject of documentary, but you can't be never sure about. And And then after 100 call, you start to also to consider where you go to shoot, how it's easy to go, because obviously we decided for Europe, also for money. I always want to remember that documentary and production, I mean, director and production is a
of course, the financial things are
yeah.
important. Okay, then you research on these spaces, but then you made a decision, and I want to show you the clip, the opening clip of almost the opening of the film, because you adding something else to these 4 stories. You are adding a trip of a boat towards Venice, and the boat is called Venice. I want to show. Oh, wait. I want to show you this clip because it's interesting how you add something to the 4 or 5 stories of the people. Share computer sound. Yes, I want to have this. Share on. Oh, yup. There we are. Full screen. Right. This clip.
Dear Anna, if I try to imagine a city, I see a sky, the London sky. The English capital is so vast, noisy and kaleidoscopic. The only way to perceive it in a single glance is to look at the reflection of its millions of lights in the low clouds of the night sky. A sky created nightly by multitudes of human beings, each with their own light bulb or neon tube. So I wonder what the Venice sky is like. But the question is misleading. It's not what, but where. Where is Venice's sky?
Okay, so far. You're adding an element of, I would say, poetry. It's an exchange of letters from 2 lovers, and he's describing his trip to Venice.
No, it's not a lover. It's my teacher of elementary school.
Oh, okay. So tell me, where did that idea came from to bring this into the other stories?
This, you mean the part of the
Yeah, because that's bringing everything apart, and it's putting a next layer in the storytelling of the film, because the boat is slowly moving towards Venice, and meanwhile we have this exchange.
You know, this was in a way the part where most clearly I declare that documentary is not exactly about Venice. And was not easy to let understand that was not just a research of place called Venice, because otherwise which real sense can have. And so it's the level where I declare that is a documentary about imagination and the imaginary. And so around half of the editing, when I knew more or less the structure of the documentary, knowing before that there was this ship that is, by the way, I think close to Rotterdam we were, apart. And I started to write. And also in this case, I wrote very fast. And I wrote, maybe we edit 6 or 7 of this part, and I wrote maybe a bit more, like 10, 12. And I mean, speaking about Venice, but shooting close, I admit people sometimes, but shoot close to Rotterdam. Speaking about London, this was the big sense for me of the documentary. In sense that I'm not saying nothing more about Venice. I'm not saying Venice is dying, or I'm not saying London is interesting. I'm saying, let's speak about what a city is. So this was the needing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wrote, and I wrote in a way part of the documentary that I never was able to shoot, because, for example, in the beginning of the documentary, I'm speaking about Berlin, and we don't, we see the suburb of Berlin, but not real the center of Berlin. I speak about London, and we can't see London. Was the level where every city is a city, and then let's try to speak together what a city is in a way.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you start with the subject and then you bring it down to well, at least one what I always say, bring it down if you can tell it in one line. Mm-hmm. And you said it already, this film is about imagination.
Yeah.
So that came later in the development of your film. Suddenly you realized, this is what this film is about. And did that give you more freedom to
Sure.
Then you exactly knew what you were doing?
I mean, theoretically, you can do this a movie like my movie with Paris or another city that you can find all around the world. Obviously, my special relation with Venice allowed me to be more close to my documentary, also because it was a personal way to feel me free from Venice. It was like a kind of little therapy to decide to see other Venice.
Yeah, and it had a close relation. Maybe you knew the book of Italo Calvino's Invisible Cities. Was that an inspiration too?
Not really, but I understand why you say it. You know, I was not something like that. I wrote the book is Invisible Cities.
Invisible.
No, but I understand that philosophically is close to Calvino. Absolutely. Yeah. In a way, philosophically, I use the.
Yes, of course. And philosophy is always good, but it's hard to tell in the film. So you have to translate that in a kind of in a sequence of images that tell a story and that hold you to the screen. And well, when we saw the film for the first time, and I would say to all our students, be there. If the film will be screened, you will be there. And it's a wonderful film. And it's a wonderful way to tell a story, because it's not about Venice. It's about imagination, which is quite a broad subject. I mean, make a film about imagination and where will you end? Mm-hmm. And now, when you at what moment you decided this is enough? I mean, we have enough material to tell the story. It's a budget thing too.
Yeah, never really arrived the moment. In fact, I have to admit that I stopped to have my tour in Google because I don't want to find something of special and then to have the regret too. And but I just to stop to research and to shoot when I understood there was enough shooting for 1 hour or maybe it was possible also 1 hour and a half. And the balance between the story was okay, because I decide, I mean, I need to have very different story. So not a single story that remember beat another story. And so, and the variety of the story for me was enough.
Right.
In a way.
Did you know about the shootout? Don't tell about it because it's a spoiler. But did you know about the shootout of the film?
The shootout?
Yeah, the shootout, the last scene.
Okay. The last scene is in Venice.
Yeah.
It's in Venice. I can speak about it. Yeah. The last. Okay. okay, the big decision that the big no, it was not a fight, because I really love my editor, Liz Gerber, but the point that we was most in disaccord was if to show Venice in the movie or don't show at all. And I was more to don't show at all, and she was more about to show. And we find a way that we both agree, that was to show just in 3 situations in the hand. Anyway, most in the night, when you almost can't see, and when there is the fog that we can almost see Venice. And then there is also a high water, but
The storm.
Yeah. And in the hand, I was in Venice in this period of very strong fog. And there was the perfect landscape where we almost can't see Venice. And it was also
I think that's a wonderful decision of your editor, because the images of Venice are like in a dream. I mean, really. And then you think, have I seen this, or is this, where am I? So that's a very good decision. It brings
yeah. You know, it's very difficult to shoot Venice without to have a postcard effect.
Yeah.
But this was a water bus that stay in a certain distance from Venice and then go toward Giudecca, that is an island a little bit far from the center. And so when you finish and you lose Venice in the white, completely in the white, because it's a really white, this is not an effect. Okay, give me the sense that you are speaking about a specific city, but not in the same time. So it was close to the idea of the documentary.
Is there anybody who wants to ask a question to Elia in this moment? Raise your hand. So far, so good, Elia. No hands raised. I want to talk with you about the project you're working on now, which is the film Urmastic's, hard for me to understand.
Yes, difficult. It's Latin. It's difficult also for me, the title.
Urmastic malensis.
Yeah, it's a specific kind of romastics. That's a kind of animal, a little animal that live in the desert. Now it's actually finished, the documentary.
The document. I'm very interested in it because it might be shown on our festival at some point, I think. It's you said it's a film about time.
Yeah.
And it is. And now you caught the subject. It's about a family castle, one could say, a manor, a big house.
Yeah, a castle is a
castle. And there's this family member who has inherited it, and
the owner is the owner.
The owner, and of an old family, and he still lives there, and he's surrounded with history and everything. I want to show you one scene to understand the pace and how it is filmed and how the understanding of time is. It's a wonderful scene with the keys. And there we are. Are we full screen now? Yep. There we go.
Ci sono stati tanti cani durante tanti anni e sono durati 10 anni, 12 anni. Il più vecchio è durato, mi sembra, 16 anni. E durante la vita ognuno di loro aveva sempre un comportamento di sentirsi assolutamente padrone di tutto questo spazio. E il pensiero è che in realtà rispetto alle mura o anche agli oggetti, loro potrebbero dire esattamente, pensare esattamente la stessa cosa di me, di Federica, che abbiamo la convinzione, la presunzione di essere nel nostro spazio, quando poi in realtà si dura veramente molto poco.
So, in this film, you're in one space, I mean, that castle, and he's living there. He didn't know that he would live there for this time of his life. And he's constantly confronted with the history of his ancestors. And he's quite philosophical about it. He can talk about it in a reasonable way. And then you found, how do you find a scene like this with the keys? I mean, that tells so much. A key has so many meanings, can add so many meanings. And then a whole bucket full of keys. He's still trying to open doors that are still closed for him.
Yeah. There we are in three directors. And one is also the protagonist, is Gianfranco Secosuardo. And everything what we show is real, because he really have these keys. He really have to do the tour of the house, of the castle, to find the right key for the right doors, etc. And but we also, I mean, we also spoke. We shoot on the day and spoke on the night to decide also a little bit more in a way, a little bit more in a fiction way that my usual documentaries. The way to speak and the way to show this, not just the place, because in the end you can see so much the castle. We don't explore the castle so much, but to find this level where the biographic documentaries is like Venice, that is a tool for speak about imagination. In a way, to use the biography of a person to speak about time. And in this castle that is risk every day to be too much destroyed, because he live in a little part of the castle, like in a little room of the castle, in a little area, because anyway it's too expensive to live everywhere in the castle. It's not a place where they used to do like weddings or something like this, and it's risk to collapse in many parts of the castle. And this his special relation with the place and with the age, and the castle is separate by a wall from the rest of the little city that is half an hour from Milan, and really out of the castle start the modernity. I mean, started this big street full of like the place where you go to play blim 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 blim. I don't know, the casino in a way, and mega shop and supermarket and big way and car, and so it's like kind of bubble. And he decided to live in this bubble, or his destiny put him in this bubble. And but this the fascinating thing is this relation he have with this place, and it's something that touched me. And in this castle we don't show, but there are some objects. We don't say it, we don't tell it in the documentary, but there are some objects like a bottle, okay? A bottle and you see it's full of dust, and you ask, well, when you put it, this, I didn't put it, probably my grandfather, my grandfather. So the to refuse to have the role to decide about things, you know, but also to decide that the position of a battle is a kind of not a kind of destiny, but teach a story, say a story, speak about something, like the Colosseum says something. Is history, is micro-history, and this castle is a temple of micro-history. Every object have a history, and every position of every object have a history, and so his way, like. There's not philosophy. Yeah, it's philosophical, but he lived in this way. So he really lived in this way. So it's not like just for make beautiful theory. Is this?
Well, you explain it in the right way. If you want to tell a story, then you got to understand not only the meaning of things, but the how the human relations are and where we come from. And you only can understand that through yourself, I think. There got to be an attachment to what you observe. I mean, otherwise you cannot make a story about it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure you have to feel you. I mean, for a biographical documentary as this one, theoretically, you have to. I think you have to appreciate the person. You have to appreciate your protagonist. You have to share best important idea. Also, because he allowed us to show. Also, in a way, his chaos. He don't pretend to be. Like the owner of a castle. He just show his real thought.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful to speak. It was beautiful also this way to because his work is the restauratore. I don't know
restoration. Yeah.
And this thing that he always every day he think is correct to restore a painting. Why? Because I want that his life is forever. I have a sense that this painting have to exist forever. Yes, not. And so in the end, yeah. So yes, you have to love something of.
Yes, and therefore that little story, the clip that when he's telling, well, we think we are the owner of time, but the time is having its own life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anybody who want to ask something about? Yeah, Ewart.
Yeah. Elia, I assume that you do not have a kind of a storybook when you start a documentary like this. So it's what you say. You go and then you experience along the way where the documentary will go. And so maybe that was not for the Venice documentary, but then at least for the part we see now, is that just like more an adventure, a journey where you go to see what will happen?
In a way, I mean, I never will start to have a trip around Europe looking for a place called Venice if I don't have a clear idea about what I want. But something that I appreciate in the documentary, and one of the reasons why I think I will never start with fiction is because the reality decides for you. and so you have to just find the level between to have an idea and to stay flexible to see what is going on. And something that is I can't change is the topic. So in the history of the documentary, it can happen is, but it's too much, it's strange. Is expensive, doesn't think. So if you keep the topic, then you are more flexible and more happy to see what reality proposed to you. And often, as they say, I told before that we discover the pastor because we escaped from the pig. This is the reality that is set for you. I mean, if the pig was a bit more silent, then we didn't discover the pastor, and the pastor became the main protagonist of the documentary in the part of Romanian.
But would you say that the story or the documentary is made during the filming and during the filming or during the editing?
The story. But it depends.
Final...
Consider there is something that you have to do if you work with a serious production, that you have to write the story of the documentary often before to meet the person. Often in the dossier, that is something that in the beginning was disgusting me. Then I I must take the habit to do it. You can write, okay, I go, and then we met this person that, and also the person is not informed about the documentary, but you already have to write, because otherwise the producer can go to the market and can get money necessary to do it. So in a way, you pretend to know everything in the beginning, and then you start to shoot and you have the reality. And then the editing, don't change the topic, also because otherwise you fail, because it's too late to change the topic, probably. But you understand, especially in the first weeks of editing, you understand which phase have your son, in a way. So for example, when I start to edit Venice Elsewhere, I was not sure about the level of how much was ironic, how much was said, how much was and you must wait the editing to understand the nature of what you did. So in a way, yes, you keep on to write editing, but you already know the words. Yeah. You mean if you have this shooting, it's like to have 100 words. If you have another shooting, you have 1,000 words. The editing is to use and mix this word to make sentence, in a way. So yes, is keep on to write, but after you know which words you have, in a way. I don't know if it's clear, my metaphor.
Yeah, that is completely clear. Well, maybe I can add one a story about myself. I once worked with an editor who said, I don't want to know from you what your film is about, just give me the material and I tell you what your film is about. And yeah. I liked it because you shoot in a certain way that you think you got the story, and then you give all the material to an editor who's fresh, and he starts looking, he goes through that material, and then he suddenly finds out what your story is about, which is a great help.
Then also there depends, because you can also start to edit in the middle of the project to start to understand the nature of the documentary, and then to keep on to shoot, and then to edit again, and to shoot and to edit. Or you can also have, for example, as I told before about Tobias Scarpa, we shoot just in 5 days, so we had like I don't know, few hours, like 7 hours maybe. And so to have an alpha, I think it's 40 minutes long, more or less, to be a scarpa. So to have 40 minutes from 5 hours of shooting is easy. I mean, and then it depends so much from the relation you have with the editor, because the editor can be a person close to you that just push the button that you can't understand in his computer, but it's just like a person that know a little bit more the technology of you, or can be a big partner. It can be I know, for example, if you are not too much expert, editor can decide completely of completely different if you have to save a project. I know of some documentary that are in a way made. There's a documentary that is fantastic that is called Untitled. I don't remember the author. Is an Austrian filmmaker that died, and he died in the middle of the shooting. It was a tour around the world without a topic, but just like to show the world. And the editor, that is a fantastic editor, took everything and made a documentary. In this case, the editor is also the author, is the director as well, you know. So it's very it's impossible to give a limit of the relation between editor and the director.
Does everything help you a little, all the students? The struggle.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah. So, hi, Elia, I'm Joske. Seeing your clips, your works, I feel that you're quite often dealing with a theme of seriality, some kind of repetitive elements, but there are some clear differences in between. It kind of relates back to the question of the philosophical theme of repetition and differences. And I guess that's dealing something to do with identity. That I feel, and it has this kind of museum quality. It's often not to do too much with the main theme itself, as its title, but it's more about that diversity, or yeah, in essence, you're collecting these diverse forms. So I wanted to ask you, where does your personal identity lie in that kind of situations while filming? Are there any kind of reaction, kind of chemistry embedded into the works?
When I work,
yeah.
You know, in this sense, I think to be really an anthropologist. I'm not an anthropologist like a teacher of university, but it's difficult that it is unusual that in front of a person I don't feel interest. And so for first, I'm interested from the person almost always. And then to have something of more that an interest can happen or not. For example, don't know, we saw like the pastor, and the pastor was a beautiful relation as long as the time I spent there. The owner of the castle, I can also live with him tomorrow for a trip. And is something, sometime happens something of fantastic that you can be moved working. I mean, can happen that someone's speaking move you. And when it happened, it's not so often, also because we are in a way so much concentrated to know that everything is working, so you are not so much relaxed generally. But if you start a long speech, and this is a speech with someone that you like, and you can forget that you have the cameraman, the blah 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 blah, and you move this moment, I think always that I really can't never change my work, because it's so incredible to feel so much working. That's also, if it's the 5% of the tempo, probably the 2% of the time that I spent working is incredible. And so, and then my relation the relation, you know, is strange sometimes, because this is the same problem with anthropologists. You arrive in a place and you became friend of someone, but you know that you are going to disappear from this place, and so it's not equal, it's not correct, and almost in the 90% of the case, I never had again contact with the person that was inside of my documentary. Not the 90, but often. And because it's also a work, and if I start to speak again with all the people I met in doing Venice Elsewhere, I can close me in a room and just spend all my life in the phone. Sometimes I feel it is not so correct, sometimes less. But it's like, you know, I also decided this work because I like, personally, like, live many small life, and when I'm there, I'm all for them, really. I can turn off my phone.
Well, a lot of people often tell documentary makers, you come here, you steal from us, and then you leave, and then you have your story and you leave us alone, and that sounds very offensive. But on the other hand, you try to tell their story and to bring it over the footlight, and suddenly their story becomes more open and public.
You know, something that I prefer in the filmmaking instead of the anthropology is the concept of in anthropology is the restitution. So when you go and you do a research and you are an anthropologist and you spend 2 years in where you want, in Amazonia, blah, and you produce a book, probably the people that are the subject of the book don't understand the book. I mean, when I get a degree, I write my thesis, and then my parents was not possible for my parents to understand my thesis because it's too much technical, it's with a language, with blah blah. What is good in filmmaking is that they can see the result and they can understand as much as I understand this movie. It's more, in a way, a word a little bit risky, democratic as kind of restitution, a movie. But I'm sure that, for example, for Venice Elsewhere, I will create some enemy, especially for example, just an example, for example, in Romania, because at a certain point, a woman came to me speaking Italian, so making also a little bit, and helped me to organize many things. But I start to say her, it's a documentary about blah, 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 blah. But it was not easy. And she was always convinced that it was about tradition, Romanian tradition, this village. I said, no, it's about imaginary, it's about Venice. Yeah. But she also dressed like with traditional, blah, 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 blah. And asked the people to came for the interview dressed like this and speak how you do the bread, blah, blah, blah. I always say, but I'm not going to edit it because I'm not interested about the way, not in this documentary, about the way, how do you cook the bread. I can be interested after when we close the camera.
They will be disappointed, but okay, you can't satisfy anybody when you make a film. I mean,
anyway, you can make your life such easier if you don't think about this kind of thing. But I'm not able to don't think also this human reaction.
Well, we won't invite her, so
this one, no.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
Now that is the woman that in the beginning of the documentary I have this discussion with the father.
That's a woman who says, well, it's about Venice, not about Rome. Okay, I understand. Well, it's a very funny opening. I mean, that's and there you have what you said, the thin line between irony and melancholy or what have you. Any other questions now that you have the chance to talk with him? some things you're struggling with your own project? Now I can ask. Well, Elia, thank you very much for sharing your stories with us. Well, we're gonna meet again in 2 weeks, and we're gonna have a swell time, I hope.
Yeah.
And it is really a pleasure to have you around and to show your film at our festival. And we invite all our students as well. We take the last 20 minutes of our meeting tonight for going through the last ideas and projects of our students. So if you want to stay, that's okay. If you want to...
No, I go because I'm using the house of a friend, and I give him the freedom to come back in his house.
Okay. So
thank you, Elia. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So anybody wants to talk about a project he's working on now, or are you stuck in the middle? Or want to show? Okay, Elia, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, thanks.
Ciao.